Welcome back to AM Northwest. A new school year is coming up, hard to believe, which is a great time for parents to learn how to set effective expectations for their teenagers. Here to tell us how to do that, we welcome back the author of Staying Connected with Your Teen, family therapist Yshai Boussi. Good to see you again.
Great to see you.
Okay, so let's start with this. Set up a scenario for me, like the one you set up in your book about how expectations, what doesn't work when we set something up.
Yeah, so getting ahead of potential challenges is always easier than reacting after the fact.
Sure.
And so I do spend a lot of time helping families who are struggling in the moment, and I'm sure I will throughout the school year. Sometimes we struggle, like that happens, but the more we can get ahead of things, the easier it'll be. And so thinking clearly about expectations can really make things better for the school year. So now is a good time. I hate doing this. I'm loving my summer. I'm trying to milk it. We have 2 weeks left, but we got to start talking about school and talk about expectations for the upcoming year.
Give me an example of a parent who expected certain things and then their kid didn't follow through.
Okay, so sometimes we set unilateral expectations as a parent, or they're unrealistic. So I might say, I have expectations that you get straight A's this year. I have expectations that you are going to get all your work done and turn all your assignments in on time this year. Or I have expectations that you're going to go to bed at a reasonable hour. So those might be some common expectations that a parent might have for their kid, that you're gonna go to school, make it to class every day on time, things like that. And what happens, nothing wrong with that in and of itself, but there are some mistakes in that expectation.
So you're setting them up for failure, really, it feels like.
For a few reasons. So those expectations, they're not collaborative. They don't involve the kid. They are not always aligned with their capacity, with what they're able to do.
Right, right.
You know, and so I talk in my book about I have a whole chapter about expectations because I call them the 5 C's.
Yes.
There are some ways to think about this.
Okay, so let's start with core values, because that's really important.
Yeah.
So any expectation has to come with a core value, because you say teens want to know why this, why that, and there has to be a good reason behind it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why like expectations like straight A's don't always work. It's like, why? So I get into college?
Yeah.
Well, so why? So you can be like the system, sometimes why are you asking me to do this?
Right.
And so core values are gonna help ground the why. Because I said so, because I'm a parent, doesn't work. So the core value, because we value education, we value sleep, might be a reason for getting to sleep on time. Physical activity, the core value is we value physical activity and physical health.
Okay.
So that's gonna help when you decide what the expectation is, make sure it's grounded in a core value.
Okay, and then consistency.
Consistency is about following through. Can I realistically follow through on this? If I'm gonna say that I want you to, let's say, be off your video games by 9 o'clock at night so you can get ready for bed. Well, can I follow through on that? Can I be consistent? Because if I'm gonna say, tonight I need you to be off at 9 o'clock, but then tomorrow I'm gonna say, I want you to be done at 7 tonight. And then the next night I let you play till 10 and I don't say anything.
Right.
That's inconsistent, right?
Right.
And so then I'm like, you need to get off, it's 9 o'clock, and they're gonna be really frustrated, there's gonna be conflict because I was inconsistent. So consistency means if I'm gonna say 9 o'clock, it's really important. I need to think, can I follow through on this?
Right.
It's gonna take energy. As a parent, it's very exhausting.
Right.
So I have to be clear, can I follow through on this expectation?
When do you have this conversation? Like when will you have it with your kids?
We're starting to talk about it now.
Yeah.
Like little by little. So a series of conversation, because how kids are, like what mood they're in the moment.
Yeah.
Their readiness, the timing is important. So having multiple conversations over time, 30 seconds here, 5 minutes here, 20 minutes here, but we need to start talking about school and some of these expectations.
And then you talk about capacity, because maybe they won't be able to fulfill what you are asking them to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's a mismatch, particularly with teenagers, but with younger kids as well, between their intelligence, their cognitive ability, the way they can think, and their emotional capacity. These do not develop at the same time. The cognitive part matures much faster, particularly with really bright kids.
Yeah.
And so what happens is we think, you're smart enough, you should be able to get straight A's. But we're underestimating sometimes the emotional stress. They've got 4 extracurricular activities. They get home at 8:30 at night. So we're expecting this, and yes, their cognitive ability would say they can do this homework, no problem, but they're burnt out, they're stressed, and we're not factoring in they are overwhelmed and they do not have the capacity right now to get this homework done. So really thinking about what are they able to do. If they've never learned how to unload a dishwasher, and I say you need to start unloading the dishwasher, they literally might not know how.
Right, exactly. Works with husbands as well, just by the way. Collaboration.
Yes, so ideally we're working, especially as our kids get older, we're collaborating with them, we're asking them. A starter for this conversation is, what are you thinking about school? What are your hopes? How do you think it'll be? What do you think will be different, especially if you had a kid that struggled last year?
Right.
Like, how do you think things will be different? Sometimes like, it's just gonna be a new year, a new school, it'll be easier, better. But how? Like, what are you going to do to get up? Do you have any? And they might not have any ideas. So we want to give them a chance to talk about their expectations, their hopes, and then let's work together. I'm going to give you what I want for you.
Right.
You tell me what you want. Let's try to work together. Now, sometimes that's not possible.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, so I put an asterisk by that C.
Right.
Because you might have a kid that's like not willing to collaborate, in which case, as a parent, this is really hard. We need support and backup, but like we need to act unilaterally and say, this is what needs to happen. You are going to go to school. You are expected to go. If you aren't able to make it to school, it's okay to say then you aren't going to have screens, you're not going to have devices. Work with the school counselor, work with teachers so that they can also support you in the school once your kid is there, to not just send them home right away.
Right.
So there's things we can do if you have a kid that's struggling with school refusal or you anticipate they might, to really get ahead of that problem.
Absolutely, absolutely. All good tips. We want to tell everyone again, the book is titled Staying Connected with Your Teen. Yshai, Boussi, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Great to see you.
All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest.